Welcome into the last edition of the Eagles Nest for the semester. I'm your host, Alec Richardson.
And I'm Brett Gendra.
Women's softball went to Nazareth and came home for Geneseo for double headers. We'll see how they did.
Brockport women's lacrosse took on the top dogs in the SUNYAC. Could they come out taking that place?
All this and more coming up on the Eagles Nest.
Tuesday, April 3rd, Brockport baseball found themselves in a barn burner. 4 pitchers would see action on the day as James Barnett, Travis Renwick, James Williamson, and Mark Sicati would allow just 1 hit to Fredonia on the day, but that 1 hit would turn out to be a run. So it would head to the bottom of the 9th, tied, or where Brockport Jr. Nick Bunce heads into a 1-1 count. And he would send this one over the fence, walk-off home run for the Golden Eagles. That would be his 3rd home run of the year as Sicati grabs the win and moves to 2-3. Later in the weekend, the Golden Eagles started a 3-game set with the Lakers. Aaron Tilley would start strong on the mound as he would blank the Lakers for 4. Brockport adds 1 in the 5th, but Oswego would add 2 in the 5th, 3 more in the 7th, and blank Brockport the rest of the way. 5-1 Lakers win. Tilley moves to 3-3 on the season. Corey Booth goes 1 for 4. Jamie Baranchek 1 for 3 with an RBI. Now we go to Game 2 of the series. Game 1 of a doubleheader. This one's scheduled for 7, but it would go to 9. 2-2 after 7. 0 points, 0 runs scored in the 8th. Top of the 9th. And it would be Sean Peak singling, followed by singles from Wilson, Weekly, and Booth, sending 3 of the men home to give Brockport the lead and enough to hold out for the win. Justin McCarthy grabs the win and would go moving to 1-0 on the mound. Jeff Sargat 1 for 3 with the double. Corey Booth 4 for 5 with 3 RBIs on the day. Big contributor to the offense. Now Brockport looking for the Saturday sweep as we move to Game 2. This one would be a full 9. Brockport offense would surge with 2 quick runs in the 2nd, and that would keep them ahead the whole game. This would be an easy win for Brockport, 8-3 win. James Barnett would be the winning pitcher, moving to 5-2. Pete Wilson was one of the heroes on the bats today with 4 hits on 5 at-bats with 2 RBIs, and Brendan Swain goes 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs.
On April 4th, the Brockport women's softball team rolled into Nazareth to face off in a doubleheader against the Golden Flyers. In the first game of the day, Brockport pitching was the highlight as Gene Farrell pitched a full 7-inning game, allowing only 2 runs and forcing 9 strikeouts. This allowed for the Brockport offense to take over as Emily Dumas hit a home run in the 3rd inning to lead the Golden Eagles to a 4-2 victory. In the second game of the doubleheader, Brockport wasted no time as Emily Dumas hit her 2nd home run of the day in the 1st inning, giving the Golden Eagles a quick 1-0 lead. Nazareth would answer, though, with a 2-run 3rd inning, but Brockport would not be denied as Melissa Martin would strike a 2-run double in the 4th to give Brockport the lead once again. After capitalizing on numerous errors by the Golden Flyers in the 6th inning, the Golden Eagles would roll to an 8-5 win, bringing their record to 14-5. 3 days later, Brockport would return home to play another doubleheader versus Geneseo. The first game of the day started out slow but would turn to an absolute slugfest. Here was an absolutely fantastic catch off the grounder by third baseman Liz Hodgman that would get Brockport out of a jam. Later in the game, Jenna Yates would make a good stop and prevent more possible Geneseo runs. And then in the bottom of the 7th, down 2 with 1 on, Brianna Furchen would reach on the error by the third baseman, giving the Golden Eagles one final hope, but it would be in vain as Brockport would fall 11-9, despite a 5-run 6th inning that featured 4 hits in a row, including 3 doubles by Yates, Arnold, and Hodgman. Moving on to the second game of the contest against Geneseo, Brockport would keep the offense going. Amy Nowak would start the game with a searing double that would drive in Caitlin Rana, and then Nowak herself would score in the same inning on an error by the Geneseo left fielder. After that, the rest of the game would go smoothly for Brockport as they would pull away with 7 runs in the 4th, 5th, and 6th innings, forcing the Mercy Rule with a 9-1 victory in 6 innings, pulling their record to 15-6.
Hey guys, you know that little circle on the outside of the football field? It's not for NASCAR, it's for track and field. We'll have more of that when we come back. We'll also have your men's and women's lacrosse. You're watching the Eagles Nest on BTV. All this and more. All this and more.
Coming up on the Eagles Nest.
Men's and women's track and field traveled to Rochester on April 7th for the Rochester Track and Field Invitational, and they would both teams would have a phenomenal day. On the men's side, Dustin Colgan would be dominant in both the discus and hammer throw events, taking first in both. Alongside him, Brendan Ganschow would also take first in the shot put event, throwing the ball 14 meters. On the women's side, similar success was met as Rachel Malone would take first in the 5,000 meter run with a time of 17 minutes and 50.09 seconds. And Nicole Jones also received first place honors with a 12.13 meter throw in the shot put event. All in all, the Golden Eagles would leave the Rochester Invitational with an astonishing 7 first-place finishes and multiple other qualifying scores. Wow.
You know, another impressive weekend from that track and field team, but we've been seeing a lot of that from that team this year, so not really a big surprise. Tuesday, April 3rd, though, a big game for the Brockport Golden Eagles women's lacrosse team as they would take on the Cortland Red Dragons. The first half turned out to be a little bit one-sided as Cortland walked away with a 9-3 lead after the first, but the ladies wouldn't go down swinging. They'd add 8 of their own in the second half, but so would Cortland. So that's going to cause them to fall a little bit short. They drop it 17-11. Nina Tassone and Katie Sullivan score 3 goals each in the loss, and O'Connor had 2 saves. On Saturday, though, the women's lacrosse team looking to take on New Paltz and avenge a loss. Katie Sullivan would grab 1 goal here, and the defense would not be outdone as Galloway would make one of her 9 saves on the day. Brockport 14 goals in the first half, which I'm not even sure is mathematically possible, which would be significantly more than New Paltz's 2. The second half would go 6-6 tie for a 20-8 win. Alyssa Scordo and Emily Zartman each had 3 goals, while Dana Perino had 3 goals and 3 assists on the day to move her to second on the all-time leading scorer list for Brockport women's lacrosse. So she's still got more time to add on to that record. Now we'll move over to the men's side of things as the Brockport men's lacrosse team took on the good old Potsdam Bears. This would be a tight-knitted affair as it was 2-2 after the first half, and if we take a look at the box score, it will remain almost identical in the entire afternoon. 4 in the third for both teams, 4 in the fourth for both teams, but wait, just 3 in the third for Brockport. That would be the difference as they lose by just 1 goal. Corey Banwari had 8 saves on the day. Jesse Elliott added a goal and assist, while Matt Andon McLean and Justin Riley each added 2 goals. So that is going to do it for this season of the Eagles Nest, and that's going to do it for my career here at the Eagles Nest. For my colleague Alec Richardson, it's been fun. I'd like to say thank you to Brockport Sports Information Director Kelly Vergeen for all his help. The Ginnies, the crew here, and the fans. I am going to be finished here at the Eagles Nest, but not here on campus. Still around for a couple more weeks, ladies. So if you see me around, feel free to say hello. You're watching the Eagles Nest on BTV.